For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of the 2018 early signing day for the USC Trojans. And technically it's an early signing period, but today is kind of the day of fanfare. USC ended up with 18 signees. Clay Helton said that 9 of those will be early enrollees. They'll be here in the spring, and then the other 9 will come in the fall during that fall camp period. Dan, so far, what are your takeaways from this first wave of signees?
Well, I mean, the numbers are up. So in terms of signee numbers, 10 at this time last year. So, but it's it's an adjustment because I think over the years we've been used to USC signing classes that were either 1 or 2 in terms of average star ranking, which in most cases was above a 4 or a real high 3. It's almost a whole number below that. So it's maybe three, a little bit above 3, but not with the number of 4 stars, and certainly not with the 5 stars. So I mean, there were years, most years, USC had more 5-star signees than the entire rest of the Pac-12. So you don't see that. Yeah. You see a group that you're going to work with. It's not a bad group, but it's not the typical USC group. I think Clay made the point, they're not finished. And that last year they closed strong. USC's tradition is they close strong. That's where they go after, the big names and the big numbers and all that. So we'll see, how that works out. But it's an adjustment for USC fans. It's a difference. This is not your normal USC signing class.
Yeah, so right now, according to the 247 composite rankings, USC is now 21st in the nation as far as recruiting rankings go. You actually got to ask Clay Helton, well, what do you say to the fans who are not used to being at that type of ranking spot? What do you have to say?
Well, that's what he basically said. We're not finished yet. Yeah. You remember last year, and we closed strong with the 5-star kids and all of that. And there's no question they did, and that really boosted them at the end. And it has been kind of a USC thing to finish, but they adjusted. I will say this, by going out and getting 18. Now, some people, critics would say, well, they did, yeah, because they took lower ranked kids. I do think I like the fact that coming off a 5-7 season, and with the turnover in the coaching staff and all that, you do have kids who want to be at USC. I mean, you like that. I mean, so you got a foundation. Somebody's not just coming here necessarily, for the glitz and the glamour and a big star and all that. They're coming here knowing that they're not maybe, one of these top-rated kids, but somebody who could work hard and, and find a place for themselves. We're going to see how that works out. But again, it's not what we've been used to.
Yeah, for sure. There's, like I said, 18 players who signed today. You can check all those out at USCFootball.com. We have breakdowns, analysis, video, written word. It's everything you could ever want on the site. But Dan, for you, who stood out the most to you in this first wave of guys?
I think Drake Jackson. I like the idea that he was kind of the one on the fence between here and Arizona State, and in terms of who else was going to be recruited at that position and all of that. And I think USC made it clear that they really wanted him. And he made kind of one of the last decisions today. And according to Clay, it went down to today. So they took a chance, maybe let somebody go and said, who's now probably going to be at UCLA, and really wanted him, and they got him. So, I like that. I've got a couple of speed kids, track kids that you like in terms of that. Other than that, I don't think it's a kind of class where somebody just jumps out, but it's like an overall kind of group impression, and it's an impression that I think this is a group that can be developed. It's USC's responsibility now to develop them. And Clay basically put it on the coaches and said, this is up, these kids trusted us, they trust USC. Now it's up to us to get them where we think they can go. And that didn't happen this year. And I think they clearly had to answer that to the kids they were recruiting. You're coming off a 5-7 season, you're not going to a bowl game. What's going to change? And I don't think we got total clarity on what's going to change other than the change that everybody talks about, that Clay couldn't not talk about, that the media couldn't not talk about, was Kliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, so this is the first time we got to talk to Clay Helton essentially since the Notre Dame game, and a lot has transpired since that time period. So first off, Kliff Kingsbury, we got to talk about him. Clay Helton said he was the first guy on his list once he saw that Texas Tech, coaching staff was let go. What do you have to say about Kliff Kingsbury?
I like it, the idea that everything that we've been able to pick up, in bits and pieces here from the Dan Patrick Show and the little bits that Kliff has done, and just in general, the sense about him is he sees the opportunity here. He sees what, if you're a kid growing up in West Texas and you see over those years, you see USC football, you see the Coliseum, and you see, LA and all of this. I mean, let's face it, Kliff Kingsbury looks like an LA guy. I mean, he looks like, he is that, Ryan Gosling coming, walking down the street. And but I think he looked at the talent and saw it kind of the way we see it in terms of knowing what he could do at Texas Tech many years without any kind of talent similar to what USC has, and just saying what I do and what they've got, it really fits together well. So you like that sense. I did ask, because I know there have been some reports on the Pac-12 network about this isn't going to be Kliff Kingsbury's offense. This is going to be, it's Clay Helton. Clay Helton is the head coach. He's the offensive guy. He's been the play caller. He's been the offensive coordinator, been the quarterback coach. This is going to be his offense. According to Clay today, this is going to be Kliff Kingsbury's offense, which I think is the correct answer. This is going to be Kliff Kingsbury's offense. And I think Clay talked about all the things he liked about Kingsbury's offense in terms of he'll use running backs if you got running backs. He'll use a couple of them. He'll throw the ball to them. He'll go have five progressions in the passing game. He does whatever is available and whatever you can do well, and he does it fast. And that tempo alone, I think, and Clay talked about that will be a better thing for USC to play faster. You've got better athletes than a lot of people you play. You might as well play fast and play more plays and make them react to you. So a lot of positives there. Yep. And I like the way he talked about how Kingsbury's going to work in this system, but made it clear this will be Kliff Kingsbury's offense.
Yeah, I was actually struck by how much Helton said that they gelled from the moment that he interviewed him. It seems like if you're a USC fan, you should be encouraged by how much they seem to be on the same page of where they want this offense and this team going in the future.
Well, and I think that frees Clay to do the other things that need to be done. And I think the really good head coaches spend much of their time coaching their assistant coaches. And I think that will give Clay, more freedom to not be so involved in the game plan on offense, but involved in making it happen in the weight room, in the Galen Dining Center, in the spring ball, in summer workouts, in fall practice, making sure that the things that stop, and Clay talked about, we need more consistency. Yep. We need not to, we can't keep stopping ourselves. You got to go up there and keep making the same play over and over and over again, not the mistakes, not the penalties. If he would focus on that and get a significant improvement there in terms of the way they practice, and I think that will be plenty. And let Kliff take care of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, Helton was pressed about Lynn Swann's statement about changing the culture, changing essentially everything around the football program and what actually needs to happen to accomplish that. And he said holding players accountable on the field and holding them accountable over and over again. And accountability was something that kind of wavered over the course of last season. How do you think that will actually be applied going forward?
Well, I think it's the key issue. I mean, I think and Clay still talked about, no, the culture is going to be faith, family, and football. And I really, it's those guys in the locker room, and it's up to us coaches. But I think the key is what happens between the coaches and the players at practice, what happens between the coaches and the players in the weight room, how does that all shake out? I still don't think we've seen the final plan. We haven't seen the final personnel. I asked him specifically afterwards. I said, you talk about, both you and Lynn have talked about the Notre Dame model. They were 4-8 2 years ago. They made the commitment. They changed a lot of things. Here they are in the playoffs, unbeaten. I said, are you guys willing to do what Notre Dame did? Notre Dame changed 17 people on the football staff, support staff, wait staff, all those people. And he said, oh, we're not doing that. No, we're not. And he said he thinks by early next week they'll have, he'll issue kind of, this is who we are, this is our staff, this is how we're going to do it. But I wouldn't look for any more changes, which, then you've got that question of if you're going to change the culture, but you keep the head coach, keep the special teams coordinator, you keep the defensive coordinator, keep the weight program pretty much the same, and the nutrition program, how do you affect really impactful changes in the culture?
Yeah.
Not that it can't be done. I mean, obviously at Notre Dame, Brian Kelly changed himself. I mean, he became a different kind of coach, and he interacted differently with his coaches and his players. So, but it's going to come back down to Clay and the choices that he makes, and then how they carry it out. And he said it's the responsibility of his coaches to develop these kids the way they kind of promised that you come to USC, that's going to happen for you. And now we have to see how that plays out. But you could see people being skeptical, having gone through this last year.
Yeah, and I mean, in both the recruiting world and the coaching staff world, it seems like it's almost in limbo, in flux right now. It's kind of a wait and see. The early signing period, you got to wait till the final national signing day to see how that class really shapes up. This coaching staff, how does that shape up? What does this all look like going forward? So right now we're kind of in a flux.
And as Clay said twice, we have a lot of work to do. Yes, they do, and that's going to determine a lot. I mean, they could not have gotten off to a better start postseason than Kliff Kingsbury. No question about it. However, and I know Clay said, I've been here for 3 weeks and feel like, telephone part of my, anatomy and all of that.
He said between handling both coaching staff and recruiting period, it felt like the phone was duct taped to his head, which makes sense.
However, I just was watching a bowl game last night. I can't even remember who it was, one of those 39 bowl games, and thinking that coach who coached his team to the bowl game win, again, you probably can't remember either, but I was thinking, not only did he have to coach his team and get them ready for last night's bowl game, he got to get them ready for today's signing period, which he talked about after the game. He said, now we got to get our signing period. And I'm thinking, if you don't have a bowl game, you do probably have a whole lot easier last 3 weeks than those guys that are playing in bowl games. So I'm probably thinking Clay will not get a lot of sympathy about having to have the phone in his ear without having a bowl game.
I also was prepping for recruiting today, so you're the only one who got to enjoy a game last night. Yeah. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I just think we're kind of a little bit in limbo, as you said. We're going to wait to see how this class finishes up, and Clay kind of, put it out on the line there that they're going to finish strong, and like last year, and the staff looks like it's pretty much where it's going to be, and we've got one more hire, but again, we're going to wait and see. We're in wait and see mode at this point. But you get 18 players. The number itself, and getting 9 coming in for the spring, that's a plus almost any way you look at it, unless you are really hooked on you need a number of an average of 4 stars or better, then you're not going to be happy.
Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the first day of the early signing period. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.